Om Shri Sai Ram. Chapter 2. Early in the year 1995, Ma's daughter Hema, who now lived in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was expecting her first child. She came to Lucknow to be with her parents till after the baby was born. On Thursday, 23rd November 1995, a son whom they named Ishan was born to Hema. After the delivery, the nurse carried the newborn child to the room. She placed him in the crib next to his mother's bed. As soon as the nurse left, Ma went up to the crib, wanting to hold the baby in her arms. As she bent to pick him up, she stopped. She saw a small picture of Sri Satya Sai Baba in the crib and a circle of vibhuti around the sleeping child. They were amazed, wondering when this could have happened. Ma picked up Swami's picture and with great reverence kept it in her purse. After 2 days, they returned home. On Guru Purnima, 30th July 1996, the Sai Mandir in the neighborhood had organized a special bhajan program in the evening. As always, Ma went to attend these bhajans. On this special occasion, a picture of Sri Satya Sai Baba was given to all those present there. Ma also received his picture as prasadam. When she reached home, she wanted to prepare some tea. So she went to the living room to get milk from the refrigerator. Carefully placing the picture on the refrigerator, Ma went to the kitchen. After some time, she returned to fetch something, and as she shut the fridge, her eyes fell on the picture. She saw what appeared to be some dust on it. Ma picked it up and carefully wiped it with her hand, placing it back in the same place. She went back to the kitchen to cook, returning to the living room several times. On one of these trips, as she shut the fridge, her eyes fell on the picture again. Looking closely now, Ma realized that there was vibhuti and kumkum powder on it. Taken aback, she called an old Sai devotee, an elderly lady whom she had known for many years. This lady was very excited and said that it was surely Swami's blessings. Ma placed the picture on the altar in her room. A few months later, Ma was as usual cooking dinner in the evening. She went to the living room to get some vegetables from the fridge. As she stepped in, she charged out in great haste. Trembling with shock and fear, she told her husband that she had seen Sri Satya Sai Baba in a miniature form about 2 feet in height, standing on the refrigerator with his hands raised in blessing. He was wearing a maroon robe, she said. Of course, uncle did not believe her. He began to worry for her. He felt that she was doing too much Parayanam. It was before the break of dawn the next day, and Ma was sleeping. She felt as though compelled by some unseen force to open her eyes. The room was lit with a strange light. She sat up slowly, feeling very confused. Still drowsy, she turned her head to look around, and her heart stopped. Before her eyes, Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba was softly gliding in through the closed window. She froze. As he stood on the ground, she was mesmerized by the most beautiful, divine glow around him. He raised his hands to bless her, and then he left quietly in the same manner in which he had come. Her heart pounding, she sat dumbstruck staring at the window. This magnificent vision of Swami, resplendent in his divine glory, stayed with her for many days. Sri Satya Sai Baba would bless her with darshan 2 or 3 times every month. Her room would light up on its own. As she opened her eyes, she would see him glide in so very gently, sometimes through the window and at other times through the closed door. She would sit still, holding her breath. He would raise his hands to bless her, and as softly, as quietly as he had come, he would leave. Slowly, the duration for which Swami stayed increased, but she would still feel a bit afraid. When Swami visited, her husband would appear to be in deep sleep. Once, when he came to give darshan, she shook her husband to wake him up, but he did not move. Swami said, "My child, let him sleep. Don't wake him up." Another morning, it was still very early and Ma was sleeping. Her daughter, Hema, who was visiting them at that time, was sleeping next to her. She woke up and shook her mother. "Ma, do you smell roses? There is such a strong smell of roses in the room." Ma woke up and, intrigued, switched on the light. She looked at the altar which was next to her bed. There were many large-sized red roses placed before all the deities in the mandir. They were fresh and had dewdrops on them. The most intense fragrance filled the room with his unseen presence. They counted. There were 21 roses in all. On another night, when everyone was fast asleep, there was a loud sound in the room. Ma woke up with a start and switched on the light. As she looked around, she saw a large coconut lying on the glass surface of the altar. Full of wonder, she thought to herself that if the coconut had landed even a little to the left or the right, it would have certainly struck something on the altar. The glass surface too was intact. One Sunday morning, Ma was doing her Parayanam of the Sai Satcharitra. She was sitting on the floor before the altar while the housemaid was sweeping the room. All this while, known to none but her, large amounts of vibhuti and kumkuma were appearing in between the pages of the book. She continued with the Parayanam. Suddenly there was a startling sound. The maid stopped sweeping and turned sharply to Ma. Ma put the book down and went to the altar. She saw some silver coins lying on the altar. A lot of vibhuti had also materialized there. Then, all of a sudden, they saw more coins falling on the floor one after another. There were 9 coins in all, 5 on the altar and 4 on the floor. All the coins had the image of Lord Ganesha and Goddess Lakshmi on one side. Some coins had Shri on the other side, while the remaining had the sacred mantra Om stamped on them. When she examined them closely, she saw that the word Bombay in very fine letters was also engraved on the coins. It was early in the summer of 2000. Ma left school after classes got over. She had to go to the telephone office to pay the bill. It was a very hot afternoon and she walked quite a distance looking out for a cycle rickshaw. As she spotted one, she asked the rickshaw puller to take her to the telephone office. When she got off and paid the fare, she told him that she might take time and that if he gets a passenger, he should go. The rickshaw puller assured her that he would wait for her. After paying the bill, Ma came out and saw him sitting under the shade of a tree waiting for her. She had already paid him the one-way fare, and when they reached her house, she asked him how much more she owed him. He did not reply to that, but asked her for vibhuti instead. At that time, it did not strike her as strange that he should ask her for vibhuti. She asked him to wait and walked up to her house, which was on the first floor of the building. After packing some vibhuti in a piece of paper, she walked down to give it to him. Looking at her expectantly, he protested that it was too little. She told him to wait and patiently repeated the earlier exercise. Again, as she gave the packet to him, he said that it was not enough. Tired and breathless, she went up the third time and got almost all the vibhuti that she had. He was still not satisfied. She conveyed to him that she did not have any more vibhuti to give him. He prepared to ride away, and she turned to go home. Just then she realized that she had not paid him the fare. She turned around to talk to him, and lo and behold, there was no rickshaw and no rickshaw puller. She stood there rooted at the spot, looking around in confusion. Then slowly she walked up to her house. Her daughter Hema, who was living in Budapest, Hungary at that time, called her in the afternoon. Ma narrated the entire incident to her. Hema laughed and said, "It must have been Baba come to give you a free ride." That night, Shirdi Baba came in Ma's dream and told her that he needed neither the money nor the vibhuti. He said that he had come to test her patience. The next day, Ma went to collect a photograph of Swami which she had given to be framed. Happily, she reached home and climbed up the staircase holding the picture carefully. As she opened the door, she stopped in her tracks. Swami was standing there as though waiting for her. In the shock and confusion, the picture slipped from her hands and fell on the ground. He smiled, raised his hands to bless her, and disappeared. The picture was intact. Om Shri Sai Ram.